Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're stepping totally away from those comfortable ideals we all like to believe in, and we're steering straight into the brutal, undeniable realities of influence, opportunity, and power. We're breaking down the core mechanics of a very specific rule from the classic 48 Laws of Power, Law 6, which says you gotta court attention at all costs. If you've ever felt like your hard work is just going completely unnoticed while other people seem to effortlessly rise to the top, well, you are definitely going to want to pay close attention to what we're about to unpack. So let me ask you something right off the bat. Does power actually go to the best? I mean, we're all conditioned to believe in a perfect meritocracy, right? We're taught that if you just put your head down, do great work, and master your craft, the universe is naturally going to reward you with authority and success. But as we dive into the source material today, we're going to completely shatter that preconceived notion. So the crucial point is this. Here's the harsh reality of it all. Power does not go to the best, it goes to the most visible. It sounds a bit harsh, maybe even kind of cynical, but in the ecosystems we all operate in, whether that's a corporate office, a digital marketplace, or even just your social circle, visibility is the absolute prerequisite for everything else. To really wrap our heads around this, we're going to walk through 5 quick steps: the brutal truth of visibility, the psychology of attention, how attention becomes power, the empty noise trap, and finally, the modern attention strategy. All right, let's jump right into part 1. The brutal truth of visibility. The math behind this reality is pretty brutal, honestly. If you aren't being noticed, your brilliant skills and ideas effectively do not exist within the social system. Think about the smartest person in your office who, never speaks up in meetings. They have literally zero influence. Attention is the entry point. It's your first currency. It comes way before trust and way before authority. Sustain that visibility, and it turns into a massive compounding advantage over time. Moving on to number 2, the psychology of attention. Okay, let's dive into this because it all starts with something called salience bias. This is the basic biological human tendency to prioritize whatever stands out, either emotionally or visually. Whether you're dealing with your boss, a media institution, or a social media algorithm, gatekeepers naturally just focus on the most noticeable signals. We are quite literally hardwired to ignore silent actors, no matter how incredibly competent they might be in the background. And why is that? Well, because every single one of us suffers from cognitive overload. The gatekeepers who hold the keys to your success have a severely limited attention capacity. When you've got hundreds of actors competing for the same space, only the highly visible signals actually survive that mental filter. On top of that, repeated exposure literally tricks the brain into increasing the perceived importance of whatever it keeps seeing. It's wild, but it's true. Check out this quote from the text. "What is not noticed is treated as irrelevant, regardless of actual value." Just let that sink in for a second and think about what that means for your career. An unseen talent is essentially a wasted talent. If you have incredible value to offer, but nobody is looking your way, the system treats you as if you have zero value. You absolutely must shape perception before your competition does. Which brings us to part 3, how attention becomes power. Let's move to this ladder and see how this actually builds. Attention really operates as a strict filtering system. First, you create a signal that gains visibility. Second, that visibility leads to cognitive capture, meaning you actually grab a piece of your audience's limited bandwidth. Third, this forms memories and sparks social discussion. And finally, that memory formation directly results in opportunity allocation. No attention means no evaluation, and that means absolutely no opportunity for you. And this whole system hinges on one critical control node, the visibility threshold. It's a completely binary reality. If you operate below the threshold, you're ignored completely, but push above it, and you finally enter the competition space. True power really only begins when you can consistently stay above that attention threshold in your specific environment. But there is a catch. Let's look at part 4, the empty noise trap. While this law is incredibly powerful, it's very often dangerously misunderstood as an excuse to just be loud all the time. And that is a fatal trap. There is a massive difference between a meaningful signal and empty noise. If your attention-seeking lacks real substance, short-term exposure is inevitably going to turn into long-term distrust. Constant empty visibility just leads to audience fatigue and ultimately the complete destruction of your credibility. Which perfectly sets up this quote on the ultimate collapse condition. Attention strategy fails when visibility increases but perceived value decreases. If everyone is suddenly looking at you, but what they see lacks competence or results or real value, your whole strategy just falls apart. You've got to balance your visibility with genuine, undeniable substance. Finally, let's wrap this up with part 5, the modern attention strategy. And this brilliantly illustrates how universal this mechanism is across completely different competitive environments. In the business and startup world, marketing visibility is what drives customer acquisition. Unseen products fail, even if they're great. In chess, visible threats force your opponent to respond. In cybersecurity, attackers use distraction and noise to cover up hidden operations. And in the military, signaling and diversion actively shape where the enemy focuses. The rules of attention are exactly the same everywhere. So, this brings us to the ultimate synthesis of the strategy. In today's high-density environments, attention isn't just about volume. It's about signal quality, differentiation, and timing. Actually, sometimes silence is your best strategic move. The most dominant modern strategy isn't just constant screaming. It's executing controlled, high-impact attention spikes that are supported by real value. So manage your attention carefully. Don't just blindly max it out. So, what does this all mean for you? I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought so you can ruthlessly audit your own strategy right now. Ask yourself, is your visibility a meaningful signal, or is it just empty noise? Are you consistently above the threshold in your environment? And when people look at you, do they see genuine value? Take a real hard look at how you are courting attention in your own life. Because remember, in this economy, invisibility is the only true guarantee of failure. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and be sure to use this knowledge strategically.